Well, hello. Today we're going to be talking about the SAGE International M14 Enhanced Battle Rifle Chassis System. Now this, to the best of my knowledge, is the only modern day M14 chassis system to be put into service, into actual government service by the United States military. This chassis was basically designed to make the M14 more modern, more user-friendly with accessory rails, with M1913 Picatinny rails, and also to just basically make the system accurate without having the issues that we have with the traditional stock and glass bedding. Okay, and adding some modern ergonomics like a pistol grip and such. Okay, now what the chassis system does is it does away with the front band interface that normally you'd have with an M14 that would, where the front band and stock furrow would mate together and you'd have draw pressure. This one instead has a mounted operating rod guide. Okay, this goes on in place of the operating rod, the old style operating rod guide, and it bolts into the chassis through these holes here. There's three of them, one on each side and one on the bottom. Okay. And what that does is that basically mounts the barrel and it mounts the operating rod on a solid point in the chassis. It's not dependent on draw pressure, it's not dependent on trigger group clamping pressure. Now the system is actually modular as well. There are different versions of this chassis. This particular one, I'm not sure of the exact model, but this particular one is made to use AR-15 stocks or M16 style stocks. This back half can actually be changed. If you look over here, there's two mounting screws in here which allow you to take off this back half, and there's another style stock that's kind of a diving board cheek rest, and it has two rails that ride along these tracks right here on either side of the stock. Okay, and basically what you do is there's a push button here where your thumb is. You push on the push button and that whole thing collapses. Now, in my opinion, that's the most compact stock, but it also limits what kind of stock options you can have. Personally, I think I like the AR-15 style stocks better on this chassis. And they also come with a couple of different sling mounting points. Right, so you have this one here, and this sling mounting point can be moved anywhere along this side, or you can mount it somewhere over here if you need to. Okay, and of course you have your Picatinny rail sections here. The whole top handguard. This is what's called a 5-bolt. Okay, or this is what's called a 5-screw top handguard. Now, the earlier versions only supported GI profile barrels, and they had 6 screws. Okay, now this particular one has 2 here, 1 here, and then 2 here. If memory serves me correct, there was a 6th one that was over here. So if you have a 6-screw version, you can't use anything but a GI profile barrel. Now, also this chassis comes in a couple of other main variations. Some of the earlier versions were a little longer, a little heavier, and they went ahead and chopped the version down a little bit to save some weight. But also, with the popularity of heavy stocks on M14s and people wanting to outfit their heavy stocked M14s in a SAGE chassis, they went ahead and came out with another chassis that allows that'll accept a bigger barrel. Okay, so this operating rod guide would be a different size for a heavy match barrel. Alright, so it is a great chassis. One of the major complaints, if you will, that some of the people have after they've owned it is they don't like how front heavy it is, because a lot of the weight, especially with the steel mass of an M14 receiver and the barrel and the operating rod of the gas system, all that hanging out front seems to tend to dip the rifle down quite a bit. This particular stock, as you see it, weighs 4 pounds 15 ounces. For all intents and purposes, it weighs 5 pounds. So in the grand scheme of things, it's a little bit heavier than a GI profile stock, and there's a couple of other chassis systems out there. It's probably not as heavy as one of the other ones, and there's another one that's a little lighter. But overall, it's a pretty good system. Now, what you're probably wondering is if there's no front band and stock ferrule, how do you control barrel whip? Well, their particular solution to that was right here. There's a barrel whip screw. Okay, so in the front, there's a set screw that when you install the chassis system, you put the screw down until it touches the barrel, and you can either back it off or play with the screw tension a little bit and then lock it down. Now this particular stock is going to a guy in New Jersey where unfortunately they don't allow certain liberty enabling freedom features such as a collapsible stock. Okay, so this particular one is a permanently fixed AR-15 style stock. Alright, so one of the other things that I mentioned was the elimination of the front band. You can actually leave it on if you want to, but you can also take it off because it's really not needed. Now, you still need to take up the gap that's on that front band, that the front band provides. So what they've done is they've included a crush washer that goes behind your gas cylinder and between your barrel shoulder. So later on I'll show you how to install this.